Do you know, it's been absolutely fantastic. I've had so many brilliant conversations with colleagues and people from different disciplines, and I kind of feel this is what university life should actually be about, you know, talking about really important issues.
I've been in the university for almost 28 years now, and I've never been driven to strike action before, but this issue is so important for the future of not only the academic staff but also our professional support staff that really I've been driven onto the picket lines every day of this dispute, and I will continue to be there until the Vice-Chancellor and the employees come to their senses and engage in reasonable discourse about how we can best resolve this.
As a PhD student, I really want to go into a career working in research and working in lecturing, but it's really hard to do that if your benefits are getting worse and worse and worse every few years. So a pension feels like it's really, really far away. But if it's getting worse every 5 years or so, by the time I retire, there's just going to be absolutely nothing there. So I think it's really important that we stand together with the lecturers and with the research staff and with the academic related staff and strike to protect the benefits we will eventually want to claim.
We've been standing here at Old Schools, which is the sort of public facing centre of the university, on the picket line for a week now, and we've had retired school teachers coming in who've told us about the history of cuts to education at all levels of the state. We've had children from the villages around Cambridge coming on school trips, handing out leaflets after they've read them. We have international tourists who are telling us about strikes in other parts of the world, and also very, very importantly, I think members of the city who are themselves facing all kinds of economic hardship at the hands not only of the university but of the Liberal state. So it's been an amazing, amazing place to stand over the strike.
We've been out here most days this week and most days last week, and it's been really good to see that everyone is kind of together, faculty, students, fellows, lecturers, everyone is just sort of chatting, and we're really supporting each other, so that's been really cool.
I've really enjoyed being on the picket line, and it's really driven home to me the way in which sort of solidarity is often the product of industrial action rather than something that precedes it, because it's just been really nice to be with colleagues from my own faculty in history, but also across the university. And you know, at the University of Cambridge, it's easy to sometimes feel like you're sort of an isolated individual, and this has really brought people together from all corners of this sort of scattered university.
I think this strike has been incredibly effective. It's the best thing that I think I've seen in my many years as a full-time trade union official. We've seen people who never normally take strike action have been coming out on the strike. We've seen people who are really uncomfortable with the idea of taking strike action still coming out on the strike. The depth of feeling that we're seeing from members is phenomenal here. And just the very fact that we've finally got the employers back to the table, they're at ACAS, they've been at ACAS all week, just shows how well this strike has been supported and how well and how seriously the employers are taking it.
I have looked at various pension modelers that are doing the rounds, and my projected pension in 2043 when I retire has been halved. Okay, so I'm looking at a pension of less than £9,000. This is not something anyone can live on, and I am working huge hours. I have not had a single day off this time until we started striking. And I am no different from anybody else, and we do deserve better.
The greatest myth has been that these pension changes are inevitable, that there's no point fighting against them because the deficit is this kind of brute fact. It's very clear that the deficit is a kind of accounting artifact. That's not to say it's unreal, but that its significance and the level of it involves very complex assumptions that should be contested and transparently argued for, which they have not been.
Without a doubt, the university is a public good. The slow but sure sliding of financialization, which started with school fees, going to, as it were, making university premises into real estate and other parts of the country, to now, as it were, university pensions. I think the question of financialization now has to be squarely addressed in relation to what the aims of higher education must be in this country.
What started the strike was the issue of pensions. However, it's much more than about that. I think the relatively small issue of pensions speaks to a lot of much bigger issues to do with how the university is run, how higher education is financed, the ridiculously punitive fees which students have to pay each year, which are not being reflected in the remuneration given to lecturers nor the investment in education.
Pensions issue is very important, one in terms of being able to sustain higher education teaching, particularly I feel for my younger colleagues just coming in, and in order to continue to recruit people and to think that we value higher education.
Many of us have come here for a variety of reasons, but with key principles of wanting to be dedicated to the academic enterprise, as some like to call it. We're committed to the research, the teaching, the educational commitment and history of this place. What we're up against here would undermine all of that, and it's not just the pension, not just for now, and mostly affecting younger members, but it's a promise that needs to be kept, but also a commitment that this is a community that is trying to focus on matters that affect all of us.
This has been, I think, one of the most inspiring and exciting periods of my entire professional career of the past, I think, 16 years of full-time teaching. I've met colleagues who I didn't know I had. I've come to know colleagues I knew in a way different from the way I've come to know them in faculty meetings and department meetings. And it's just been an incredibly energizing and I think a very necessary period of time for us to go through, not only in fighting this struggle, but also in discovering what kind of university it is that we're working and living in.
I do think this is a great place to learn, but it won't be unless the university can keep their staff on side.
Yeah, and it's not just about lecturers' pensions, it's also about the marketisation and the financialisation of the university more broadly, and if we don't take a stand on this issue, then I don't know when we will.